Hello and welcome to this month's um, talk through of the August 2022 longevity review. If I can get the words out of my mouth, nice for you to join me. A little bit brief introduction to myself. So my name is Chris Linnell. I am the founder and president of the Canadian Longevity Association, Canada's first federally incorporated nonprofit dedicated to the advancement of longevity science and medicine. And I've been writing a monthly review of the latest developments in the longevity sphere for the past 4 years. And here's the one I did for August 2022, which, to give a little bit away at the beginning, it was a blockbuster month, a really exciting month of some important developments, which really restored my faith that um, we will see successful longevity treatments in within our lifetimes, or at least I hope so. Fingers crossed, I guess. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this month's review. So actually, starting with a bit more about myself, because as you can see here, Chris is an N1 rapamycin trial. So a couple of weeks ago, I started taking rapamycin. I have well, if you're not aware, rapamycin, I believe, is the longevity drug closest to prime time. It was the first drug proven to extend the lifespan of a mammal back in 2009, and it has extended the lifespan of every organism it has been tried in. And there are some tantalizing evidence that, or there is some tantalizing evidence that it could also be successful in humans. Now, I've been wanting to actually take it for many years, and finally, I even tried to get hold of some before, but finally, through a bit of luck, I've got hold of a 3 month supply for myself, and not wishing just to take it blindly. I'm trying to get as many biomarkers as possible before and after to see if there are any noticeable effects, because generally speaking, I am quite healthy. I'm still young, at least I think I am at the age of 46. So I don't have any major or really any health issues, so to speak. So I'm not expecting to notice or feel any different. However, I've had blood work done, which I will do again in 3 months' time, so I can put my results into the PhenoAge calculator, which in the newsletter you can download this calculator, which involves 9 different biomarkers from blood work, and you put it into a calculator and tells you what your biological age might be. In addition, I've also taken 2 other biological age tests: age rate from a Canadian startup, which looks at your epigenetic age, and also glycan age from a British company, actually, which tests your glycans, which are sort of proteins on the outside of cells, and also will be able to give you a biological age. And I will be sharing all of my results, certainly those 3 results, in further newsletters. In addition, I have also taken videos of me doing these tests, and which will be placed in the Canadian Longevity Association's YouTube channel. Which hopefully I'll do that tomorrow, upload those finally. So you'll be able to follow my journey on there if you are so interested. Also on our Canadian Longevity Association Facebook group. Of course, a little plug I should also make for the Canadian Longevity Association. We'd love to have you help us if you're interested in helping or moving forward the longevity agenda in Canada. You don't have to be Canadian, by the way. But if you're at all interested in helping us, we're always looking for more volunteers. And you can do so by filling out our volunteer registration form, which is fairly straightforward. And so also, no matter how little or much time you have available, you could still would be able to be of great assistance to us. And if you like these videos and like my newsletters, you can always sort of support me and the CLA, actually, because I've given up my job to devote my time to the CLA by donating at my Patreon account, which you can access via my newsletter as well. Anyway, enough about me. Let's take a look at the biggest developments in the longevity field for August. And so here, yeah, let's take a look at the August roundup. So the first study, we will briefly take a look at, involves plasma dilution. So you may or may not be aware, you might have read articles about involving vampires, about people taking young blood from kids that are younger people and giving it to old people to try to rejuvenate them. Sort of made various popular science stories over the last few years. Anyway, it isn't just sensationalism. There's actually some truth behind the matter, whereby they found if when they've taken an old mouse maybe rats actually, taken an old rat and somehow rather gruesomely joined the blood circulation to, taking an old mouse and a young mouse and joined their blood circulation systems. They found that basically the old mouse seems to get rejuvenated a little bit, whereas the young mouse sort of ages faster. So clearly there's something in the blood that either can rejuvenate or can age a mouse, at least a rat. Well, the question is it more important to, so there are potentially rejuvenatory molecules in young blood and potentially senescent molecules in old blood. Now the question is, which is more important? The good stuff from young blood or the bad stuff from old blood? Anyway, so far people have been there've been a few experiments with using plasma exchange to sort of give people more youthful blood, but and the results of those are sort of still coming up. However, in this story, what makes this quite exciting is that the leading practitioners of sort of the opposite theory, the theory that it's the detrimental stuff in old blood, which is sort of more important. The Conboys, a scientific couple, they've found out in mice that not so much removing the stuff in old blood, but simply diluting the blood plasma by sort of taking out old blood plasma and putting in a neutral albumin can have quite substantial beneficial effects. Anyway, the exciting thing here is the fact that they've actually tried this out in humans with some promising results. The other exciting thing is that this process, which is called apheresis, is a legitimate medical procedure which is used for various, I think, autoimmune diseases, and is available in certain clinics. I've met somebody who's got a clinic actually near Toronto who is offering this procedure, the same procedure actually used in this little trial. So I need to investigate that further, and I will bring you more information about that in due course. So the exciting thing here is that this is more easily translatable. So it's available now if you've got money, though it's not cheap. Anyway, let's take a look at the actual paper itself. So you can see there, Michael and Irina Conboy, the main people behind them. The doctor who ran this was Dobry Kiprov. I'm probably pronouncing, I don't know why I added sort of an accent there, but anyway. But let's just take a look at the highlights here, which if I can find. So therapeutic plasma exchange is what they are calling this. Promotes a global shift to a younger systemic proteome. So those are like the proteins that are circulating in your body, including youthfully restored, pro-regenerative, anti-cancer, and apoptotic, I can't pronounce this, regulator. So that's cell death, by the way. Apoptosis is when cells basically commit suicide. And a youthful profile of myeloid lymphoid markers in circulating cells, which have reduced cellular senescence and lower DNA damage. Mechanistically, so these are some of the oops, let's have it with my mouse. There we go. So these are some of the substances in blood which are signaling pathways which become more youthful or youthfully balanced. So obviously this is a small trial and it only involved 3 people. So very early days, however, very exciting, as this can easily be scaled up and, as I say, is potentially available now. Though certainly I will be waiting for further larger studies to confirm these results. This is very, very, very preliminary, but still, well, in my opinion, incredibly exciting that it is reached this stage already. So I think the mouse studies only came out a couple of years ago, so it's a relatively fast transition to humans, again, because this procedure is already available for other conditions apart from aging. Now, moving from something that's maybe a bit futuristic to something sort of readily available now, something you can go and buy in your local health food shop or wherever you get your supplement shop, I guess. Because here another human study for something called GlyNAC. Now, GlyNAC is basically a combination of glycine and N-acetylcysteine, which is, or NAC. This is a simpler way of saying this. So GlyNAC is a combination of glycine and NACs, hence the name GlyNAC. And as it says there, GlyNAC supplementation reverses aging hallmarks in aging humans. That's the lifespan.io write-up. But taking a look at the paper itself, let's go all the way to the results. So this was they had a previous study which came out last year. Actually, I'll go back to that. A small pilot study, which is interesting in itself, came out last year, which showed that it corrected all these deficiencies, this mitochondrial dysfunction, improved inflammation, endothelial, which is the blood vessel dysfunction, insulin resistance, genomic damage, cognition, strength, gait speed, exercise capacity, and lowered body fat, waist circumference. However, this preliminary trial was open label, which means that there was no placebo. The participants knew that what they were taking. But yeah, very interesting results. And well, this was followed up by the study which came out in August, which showed this study was placebo-controlled, randomized. The study participants did not know what they were taking. Slightly larger study group as well. So here you had still not a lot of people, in all honesty. So you only had 12 people in each of the 2 arms, as well as 12 young adults who formed sort of another control. And what they found was, once again, that I should just quickly mention that GlyNAC is is part of the building blocks for glutathione. Glutathione? How can I pronounce it? Glutathione. Yeah. which is one of the main antioxidants in the human body. It's produced by our bodies, and yeah, levels, I believe, decline with age. So by, I guess, giving the body the building blocks for this, increases the amount of glutathione in the body itself, or at least that's the theory. And anyway, going back to the results. So yeah, this trial was also 16 weeks, so which is 4 months, if you do the calculation, or thereabouts. And so here's saying the results compared to young adults, old adults. So those are the people who just did the placebo, had glutathione deficiency, more oxidization, mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, endothelial, again, blood vessel dysfunction, insulin resistance, multiple aging hallmarks, impaired physical function, increased waist circumference, and increased blood pressure. Now, all of those things improved. In all those things, GlyNac improved or corrected all of those defects, which is very, very promising. Now, a couple of things to say: that both of these results, both of these studies were carried out by the same group who seem to have done the majority of studies using this compound. Also, the amount ingested was very high. In fact, looking at the methods, we go to methods. Now we're there already. Here we go. So the supplement. So the study participants at doses of 100 milligrams per kilogram per day of both glycine and NAC. So I weigh around 82 kilos, so that would be 8.2 grams of glycine and 8.2 grams of NAC per day if I wished to take it, which is fair amount. But if it can have those results, then something worth trying. And in fact, if I were not to be if I weren't doing my rapamycin trial, or I sort of kept everything steady in terms of my supplements, but have simply added rapamycin, then I would maybe consider that. Maybe I'll try it, give it a shot next year, or maybe not so much myself, but my parents, because my parents actually are going to be trying rapamycin as well, also for 3 months. But next year, once they're not doing on rapamycin, maybe I'll have them try this. We'll see. We'll see. Have to get them to agree to do that first, however. So anyway, quite interesting result. And again, potentially readily available. Though I am not recommending you do it. Everything should be done at your own risk. However, when I was putting the newsletter together and I did a little bit more digging into GlyNac, I discovered there were actually 2 more papers came out earlier this year, which somehow had slipped through my net. One from January, from again the same group. This time looking at the GlyNac's use for people with type 2 diabetes. And as the title there says already, the supplementation improves mitochondrial fuel oxidation and lowers insulin resistance. Looking at the results here in the abstract. Here it is. GlyNac supplementation significantly improved fasted MFO, which is, what's MFO? Fatty acid oxidization by 30%. Woo! Lowered MGO, which is, what's MGO? Something, I saw it. I've lost it. Where's it gone? I cannot see it. Anyway, that's something, I'm sure it's lowering it by 47% is good, and decreased insulin resistance by 22%, and lowered free fatty acids by 25%. These results provide proof of concept that GlyNac supplementation could improve mitochondria. I don't want to annotate. These results provide proof of concept that GlyNac could improve mitochondrial dysfunction and insulin resistance in patients with type 2 diabetes and warrant additional research. Once again, this study was done in how many people? Didn't check that beforehand. Let's take a look at the methods. 10 adults and 10 non-diabetic controls. So again, a very small study. So any small study we've got to be careful about because well, it could be just random chance, basically. So that's why when any drug gets approved, to be able to get approval, the drug needs to be studied in phase 3 trials involving usually thousands of people. Sometimes only hundreds, but usually thousands of people. And the third study came out in March. Now, this is done by a different group of people. So, where they looked at 3 different doses of GlyNac in healthy older adults. So 2.4 grams for the low dose, 4.8 grams in the medium dose, or 7.2 grams in the high dose. And what they basically found here is that it did boost levels of the total amount of glutathione, or glutathione, however it's pronounced. But especially those who, like post-hoc, so after analyses revealed that a subset of subjects characterized by high oxidative stress, above the median, so above average, and low baseline glutathione status, below the middle, who received the medium and high doses of GlyNac presented increased glutathione generation. And I mean, I think it was mainly a safety study, but as it says at the end there, in summary, GlyNac supplementation is safe, well tolerated, and may increase glutathione levels in older adults with high glutathione demand. Probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but there you go. That's one of the problems with science. I read so much about it, but how do you pronounce most of the words? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, promising results all in, but again, close it out. But yeah, again, I don't think there were many study participants, so it's depending on your risk tolerance, probably best to wait for further trials. However, having said that, both glycine and NAC are safe on their own and well categorized. So not as much a risk as doing some other things like taking rapamycin, like as I am doing, which I am not recommending anyone else to do. Better to wait for stupid people like me to see what happens to them first and get some results. Anyway, speaking of rapamycin, the third highlight of the month was a mouse study, not a human study this time, but a mouse study which shows why rapamycin and metformin, the diabetes drug metformin, show synergy because in the interventions testing program, which was run by the National Institute of Aging in the US, been going on for almost 20 years, where they're testing potential anti-aging or longevity interventions in mice. And it was the program which first showed that rapamycin worked in mammals. Anyway, most of the compounds tested or molecules tested did not show any benefit or lifespan extension. However, including metformin, actually, according to them. But however, when rapamycin and metformin were combined, it resulted in the largest increase in lifespan in the interventions testing program so far, or at least published. There's some better stuff coming soon. Actually, I'll give it away. Rapamycin plus acarbose, which is another diabetes drug, showed even better benefit, or even more benefit. However, going back to the study here, I guess the authors, same authors were looking at why rapamycin and metformin are synergistic. And they took looking at using diabetic mice, so mice that are more likely to get diabetes. So basically, cutting a long story short, or actually, I'll give a slightly longer story. So all drugs have benefits, well, hopefully benefits, but also potential side effects. So you have to do a bit of a cost benefit analysis if the benefits outweigh the side effects. Anyway, by the combination of rapamycin and metformin retained the benefits of both while preventing many of the deleterious effects. So basically, all the bad effects of either rapamycin or metformin were reduced or gone completely, whilst retaining the beneficial effects. So yeah, this is useful information, and certainly in the future, if I do rapamycin again, I would, it could be an idea to do metformin as well. So yeah, you can take a look at the lifespan.io write-up, which explains the study in more more layman's terms. And there's a video as well. Maybe watch the video instead of having to read. Anyway, carrying on now, moving away from sort of drugs and specific longevity interventions. This study caught my eye because, again, I keep on going back to it, but as part of my biomarkers hauling, I'm also wearing a continuous glucose monitor, which is being quite interesting to see how my glucose levels change depending on what I'm eating. And it's been actually a bit of a shock to find out that just a couple, well, 2 slices of bread, for lunch, well, as in the form of a sandwich along with other things, really spikes my glucose. Anyway, but my opinion is the more that we know about our bodies, the more we can see what is going on inside, the greater the chance we can actually do something about it. Knowledge is power, and potentially by knowing more about our bodies, we can maybe stave off disease or lead a better lifestyle. It's, in my opinion, it's generally a good thing. Now, here is researchers have developed a electrochemical biosensor, which can monitor in real time metabolites and nutrients in the body. And unlike my continuous glucose monitor, which does involve a needle sticking into my arm, this one doesn't. This one analyzes sweat. So in sweat during physical exercise and at rest, trace levels of multiple metabolites and nutrients, including all essential acids and vitamins, I guess can be read. And here you can see the sensor in question. It looks like a little patch on the arm there, and also they seem to have created a watch or a sensor that could be used, on a watch like a Fitbit or something along those lines, which is actually something else I'm sort of haven't gotten around to getting, but I think I might try that in the future, or the NutriTech smartwatch, as they call it, with disposable sensor patch. Anyway, interesting developments, and I'm sure in the future there will be many more similar sort of sensors that we will be able to wear. And again, tell us more about what is happening inside of our bodies before we get a shock by, heart attack or goodness knows what, that something can come and cause us problems, but which might have been preventable had we but known about them in advance. Continuing onwards to the last of the main highlights before going to the supplemental section. Now, I normally don't. I normally only in my newsletters write about published studies because before a study is published, it needs to be reviewed by other researchers from the same field and make sure it's all correct and all that. However, this study, in my opinion, was important enough. The study is a preprint, so it's before it's being finished, but it's before it has gone through peer review and being published in a scientific journal. But this study, I think, was important enough to highlight early. And this has to do with partial epigenetic reprogramming, which is sort of the next big thing in longevity research. So the epigenome are the markers on top of our genome, which basically tell our cells which genes to turn on and off. So it's the reason why all our cells have the same DNA, but a heart cell knows that it's a heart cell as opposed to a brain cell, a neuron, or what have you. And researchers have also found that those epigenetic marks, which regulate that, change over time, and they've developed biological clocks, which can tell you how old you are or whether you're aging faster or more slowly by looking at how those epigenetic marks are changing. Now, the exciting thing here in terms of longevity, not just to find out how old you are, but it's looking possible that by setting those markers back to a more youthful level, like setting them back to the way they were when you were, say, 20, could actually rejuvenate the cells and the organism as a whole. Now, this has been shown in a few recent papers. However, all those prior sort of papers involved genetic manipulation of some sort that wasn't immediately applicable to humans. However, there's also sort of a race on to find other methods of achieving the same result. And the researchers here have done so by looking for chemicals which could do the same thing. And again, there's a lifespan.io write-up about this, but taking a look at the paper itself, so this is more recently chemical reprogramming via small molecule cocktails have demonstrated a similar ability to induce pluripotency in vitro, so the test tube. However, its potential impact on aging is unknown, so they took a look at it here, and they found a combination of an optimized combination of two reprogramming molecules were sufficient to induce the reduction or the removal of additional aging phenotypes, including cellular senescence, so aspects of aging, and oxidative stress. Importantly, in vivo application of this two chemical combination significantly extended, see it again, so the little roundworm, which is so fundamental to aging research, increased their lifespan, which is, as I say, quite exciting, and which opens up a path towards future translational applications. Basically, what that means makes it easier for us to actually, take advantage of this. We don't need to be genetically manipulated, but take a drug or take a combination of drugs. Now, although this is exciting, it doesn't actually mean a complete rejuvenation. Let's look for that. Here's the lifespan study I was looking for. So, this is the graph here on the top right, B here, is the combination they have termed of the two drugs they have termed 2C. The two drugs they've used is Repsox and TCP, whatever those things are. Anyway, you can see here there was an increase of lifespan. I mean, not amazingly dramatic, but still proof of principle and all of that. And interestingly enough, the lower concentrations actually perform better than the higher concentrations. So there's a dose response, but as in a lot of things, too much of a good thing could actually be detrimental. Anyway, so yeah, as I found this worthy of mention, even though this has yet to pass through peer review. But well, fingers crossed it does, and that these are not faked results. Okay, on to the supplemental section now, where I'll be mainly highlighting other interesting human trials, and I won't spend humongous amounts of time going through all of this, but some things that caught my attention. So firstly, in terms of lifestyle and fasting, dietary restriction here. So the first thing I wanted to highlight was that a trial looking at when you the effects of snack consumption or assessing the time of day of snack consumption and the resulting after eating glucose response. And I just wanted to say here, again, this is maybe this stuck in my mind because of my own glucose monitor. I just wanted to just mention this one thing. Overall, the highest glycemic, so glucose excursions, which means elevated glucose going up, were observed in the morning, while a more dampened but prolonged response was observed in the evening. Basically, what that means is that much bigger, higher spike with a snack in the morning compared to sort of a lower, but sort of broader elevation in the evening. So yeah, it was a standardized carbohydrate-rich snack of almost 200 calories. But people did it in their daily lives, so it wasn't in a laboratory setting, because they say these findings do not agree with previously published laboratory studies. So it also brings up the question that maybe a lot of laboratory studies are wrong. We need, real world results, because yeah, people don't live in labs apart from researchers. And again, this goes back to the wearables again. I'm sure future studies of anything, of any sort of drug or trial, if people can be wearing something that is checking them all the time, then they can see what happens leading your normal life and how various interventions affect that. And also here, what was it? Restricted eating to certain hours bolsters weight loss. So here's the MedPage Today write-up, because I could only access the abstract otherwise. If you're trying to lose weight, the interesting thing here was I think that people basically, two groups, lowered their calorific intake. But the one group were eating over 12 plus hours, whereas the other group only ate over 8 hours, so like the 16-8 diet or something along those lines, from or the early version of that, because they ate from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. They lost an additional 2.3 kilos over a 14-week study. So if you're looking to lose weight, not just lowering your calories, but reducing the time you eat those calories shows an added benefit. Yeah, just wanted to point that out. Green tea's good, black tea's good. Yeah, okay. So no surprises there. Another sort of interesting study about what, in terms of lifestyle and exercise here, was that research showing that it's better to do a little bit often rather than a lot infrequently. I'm talking exercise here. So as I say, better to do a little bit every day than to save it for 1 day a week. So here, people were basically doing bicep curls. Uh, so like lowering the heavy dumbbell and a bicep curl, and the two groups, these were older people, I think, older individuals. Anyway, they only had to do 30 contractions per week. So yeah, 30 bicep curls a week. Not a huge amount, but still. One group did 6 bicep curls a day for 5 days a week. And another one did all 30 in 1 day. And cut a long story short, yeah, so the people doing it in 1 day did not increase muscle strength, although their muscles got bigger. However, the group that did it 5 times a week saw significant increases in muscle strength, more than 10%, with an increase in muscle thickness, similar to the once a week group. So clearly it's showing that the frequency, not just the volume of your exercise, matters. So, again, a little bit every day is better than just once a week. But of course, however, bear in mind, don't overtrain. Again, these people did it only 5 days a week. They weren't doing it. They weren't doing it 7 days a week. Rest days are very, very important to gain the benefits, maximum benefits of exercise, especially resistance exercise. Carrying on now to supplements, moving away from lifestyle. One popular supplement is curcumin, which is the main ingredient, or the main medicinal ingredient of turmeric, the yellow Indian spice found in curries. And this one study just showed that in several autoimmune diseases, so this was a systemic review looking at 31 different randomized control trials. And cutting to the chase, so curcumin longa extract had good clinical efficacy, so success in the treatment of psoriasis, ulcerative colitis, and rheumatoid arthritis. So if you have any of those 3 conditions, then adding curcumin, which is very safe. Could be beneficial. It says did not show any efficacy in oral lichen planus. I have no idea what that is, but anyway. Whilst various other autoimmune diseases such as Takayasu arthritis and all these acronyms, there simply wasn't enough information. So the trials were not sufficiently large enough to have a result. So could potentially be also useful in those other autoimmune diseases, but we will just have to wait for the results to come through. Okay, let's see what else. Oh yes, another couple studies in nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, no, not the candies, which is an increasingly popular supplement. And one study came out last month, and I also discovered there was another study yet again, which came out earlier this year, which I hadn't seen. So the first one, again, it's just a safety evaluation. However, the dose used was quite a bit larger than previous studies, and here the dose used was 1,250 milligrams. of NMN for taken daily for 4 weeks. And basically, it was, there was no severe adverse events were observed during the study period. Our results indicate that NMN is safe and well tolerated in healthy adult men and women at an oral dose of, as I say, 1,250 milligrams for up to 4 weeks. Personally, I take 500 milligrams every day. I believe David Sinclair might take a full gram. But anyway, just good to know that higher doses don't seem to be problematic. Generally, sort of try to stay within the sort of the lower dose range of any supplement or whatever, that the lower dose range that shows some benefit, because, well, it's for safety comes first, I guess. And secondly, the second study, Brad Steinfeld didn't show that much significance in his opinion. Here, NMN was at 250 milligrams per day for 6 or 12 weeks. This was a placebo-controlled, randomized, double-blind, parallel group trial. And it seemed to show improvements in gait speed, performance, and left grip test. That's how strong your grip is. But did not significantly affect body composition. And they conclude by saying chronic oral NMN supplementation can be an efficient NAD booster for preventing age-related muscle dysfunction in humans. Yeah. So again, potential benefits here. I don't want to go into this too much because I'd seen some, as I say, Brad Steinfeld, the doctor. I saw a YouTube video of his where he wasn't too impressed with these results. I haven't had a chance to really dig deep into them, but anyway, once again, NMN supplementation was well tolerated and caused no significant deleterious effects, which is obviously very, very important. Yeah, looks like this sort of now beginning to be a sort of an avalanche in NMN studies. So we'll find out just how much NMN does to us, how much beneficial effect there is in the near future, especially once people start being able to do systematic sort of umbrella reviews of all the prior studies done. Now, a similar supplement, nicotinamide riboside, which also elevates NAD levels, also had a placebo-controlled trial, though this time with the added pterostilbene found in blueberries. So this is basically, you might have heard, maybe you've heard the supplement called Basis. This is from behind. This trial was conducted by that supplement company, and unfortunately, I'll read the conclusion. Daily supplementation of 100 milligrams, 1 gram of nicotinamide riboside and 200 milligrams of pterostilbene is safe, but does not improve recruitment of the muscle stem cell pool or other measures of muscle recovery in response to injury or subsequent regeneration in elderly subjects. So yeah, here they were. They injured the muscle and in elderly subjects, poor elderly subjects, and this supplement combo did not, unfortunately, improve it. But unfortunately, I'll have to point out, null results or negative results along with the positive ones. Moving on to a slightly older supplement, which had its heyday, I guess, maybe 10 years ago. But resveratrol, I think, still has some benefit because enough studies have been done on this that people can do systematic reviews and meta-analyses, of which the second study we'll look at did. But the first study was its own trial in people with elderly people with type 2 diabetes, a randomized controlled trial. And let's look at the results. So compared, it's a bit bigger so you can see. So compared with placebo, resveratrol treatment significantly decreased pro-inflammatory cytokines, glycated hemoglobin, interleukin-6, tumor necrosis, alpha factor, interleukin-1 beta in these elderly subjects. These are sort of a lot of markers of inflammation. And also it decreased blood glucose parameters, improved lipid profile, and renal function compared to placebo. So this is a fairly large study, actually. So, 472 people in total. They did it for 6 months. I believe it was 250 milligrams. I looked earlier, 250 milligrams. Hold on, where'd it go? No, sorry, 500 milligrams of resveratrol. I take 250 milligrams per day. But yeah, so it looks like it's, at least from this one study, it looks like resveratrol was beneficial for people with type 2 diabetes. Now, the second study, as I say, is a systematic and review and meta-analysis. So they looked at 15. Make this bigger. 15 studies were included in the meta-analysis. And what did it do? It decreases glucose levels. So here the doses, various doses, less than 250 milligrams, and also between 250, 500, and 500 to 1,000. So different doses. And different doses had different results on different parameters. But the take-home message was, the conclusion was, resveratrol has a statistically significant dose-response effect on glucose concentrations, HbA1c, so the oxidation of your blood cells, and insulin levels. However, there is not enough scientific evidence to propose a therapeutic dose. So it really does seem to depend on the age, the dose, various things. So for example, insulin levels improved in subjects aged 45 to 59 years old with a dose of less than 250 milligrams per day, and doses of 250 to 500 milligrams a day. Although in subjects older than 60 years, they only improved with doses of 250 to 500 milligrams. On the other hand, HOMA-IR, so that's a marker of your insulin resistance, only improved in subjects older than 60 years with doses of 250 to 500 milligrams per day. But anyway, regardless, it does look that, resveratrol does have some benefits, especially if you have type 2 diabetes. Continuing onward, here's another supplement. I think there's only one supplement company which sells it so far, but spermidine can be found in food sources. I make sure to eat some wheat germ every day because wheat germ has the highest concentration found in food. And I won't even bother clicking into it, but basically it seemed to show this wasn't people supplementing with spermidine. This was people whose spermidine levels were measured, and people with higher spermidine levels in their blood had less cognitive impairment, basically. So indicating that it is a potentially useful, well, a useful supplement to try or get, pile on the wheat germ. There are various other foods as well which contains it. Other available supplements, acetyl L-carnitine, Alcar, I think it's known as. Yeah, Alcar. So here, slowed the progression of pre-frailty to frailty in older subjects. Again, I only have access to the abstract, as you can see here. So there were 92 subjects were selected, and they had 1.5 grams of Alcar. And so after the treatment, only the treated group displayed a decrease in C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation, increase in serum free carnitine and acetylcarnitine. So again, they also had decreased high density cholesterol, whatever. But looking at the conclusions, so Alcar treatment delays the incidence and severity of onset in pre-fail subjects of degenerative disorders. What is happening with my mouse? My mouse is having a mind of its own today. Of degenerative disorders of the elderly with improvement in memory and cognitive processes. So yes, the MMSE, it says there, is the mini mental state examination, I guess. Yeah, this is a supplement I do not take, but maybe some of you might do. Another supplement, however, which I do take, mainly for my resistance exercise, and I was quite interested to see that creatine supplementation seems to improve the memory in healthy individuals. So again, once again, only able to access the abstract here. And they don't say how much, do they? No, they don't say actually how much people were taking. Oh, yes, they do. Between 2.2 and 20 grams per day. I take 5 grams a day. Here it is. Subgroup analysis revealed a significant improvement in memory in older adults, 66 to 76 years of age, compared to the younger counterparts, 11 to 31. So the conclusion is creatine supplementation enhances measures of memory performance in healthy individuals, especially in older adults. So yeah. Your bodybuilder, then make sure to take creatine as well. I'm not a bodybuilder. I just do resistance exercise because it is really important, both aerobic and resistance exercise. And you need to do both for optimal health. Oh, I was about to miss this, but yes, here's another meta-analysis, this time of omega-3 fatty acid inflammation. And once again, I only get the abstract here. But the highlights, basically CRP, IL-6, and TNF, tumor necrosis factor A, or alpha, all markers of inflammation were reduced following omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acid supplementation. So in studies with the intervention duration of less to or equal to 10 weeks caused a profound reduction in IL-6 levels, whereas supplementation caused a greater decrease in CRP levels in patients with diabetes and who were older than 55 years of age. I do take omega-3s myself. Forget now actually how much it is. Should they say? This is an umbrella review, so they looked well, okay. It was like an umbrella review is when meta-analyses are combined together. So they took 32 meta-analyses um, and found that, yeah, it reduced various markers of inflammation, which is a good thing. We don't want inflammation when we are older. Continuing on here. Oh gosh, it's been talking for over an hour. I should move swiftly through these. So yeah, just a few things about combination treatments. So here, ginkgo biloba, or an extract of ginkgo biloba, when combined with an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor, basically drugs which are used for Alzheimer's, which don't cure Alzheimer's or slow it down, but they give a sort of temporary cognitive boost, especially people who have more mild cognitive impairment. And adding this ginkgo biloba extract EGB 761 improve the cognitive functions more so than just the acetylcholinesterase inhibitor on its own. And another one I just want to briefly mention, the combination of selenium and coenzyme Q10 prevented telomere attrition. So the end caps of our chromosomes. Yeah, basically, I mean, well, let's go to conclude. To conclude, preservation of sort of helped preserve the telomeres, preservation of telomeres after selenium and coenzyme Q10 supplementation is associated with reduced. It is associated is associated with reduced cardiovascular mortality. So yeah. Though I should mention selenium could be toxic in high doses, so be careful with that. Take a look at this. Take a look at this study first before wishing to combine the two. Moving on to a couple more. Again, here's a disappointing study on rapamycin where they used it following heart attack, and so people who I guess people who had a heart attack were assigned, well, not rapamycin per se, but a Rapalog, so basically the same thing as rapamycin, but another company produced it to make money out of it. And taking it for 5 days after heart attack did not seem to do or did not provide any benefit. So early mTOR inhibition with everolimus did not reduce heart attack size or MVO. Microvascular obstruction at 30 days. So even the most promising of drugs aren't going to work for everything. So yeah, even with rapamycin. And I just wanted to point out here. So here's a relatively new class of diabetic medication called SGLT2 inhibitors, which are very beneficial in diabetes, but also have been recently shown to be good for the heart in general, people suffering from heart failure and things like that, regardless of whether or not the people are diabetic. Recent studies have shown remarkable benefit. This study is simply showing. Okay, take a step back. Unfortunately, for a lot of drugs, they don't recruit that well, when they recruit older people, they don't recruit much older people or people like in their 70s. So the question is do these drugs still work when people enter advanced age over the years over the age of 70? And in this one, they analyzed a population of 739 adults and whose average age was 75, and basically found, as the conclusion says, so the SGLT2 inhibitors were well tolerated and safe in the elderly and appear as an effective therapeutic option, though some caution is also suggested, especially in more fragile subjects. But yeah, so if you're older, they are still beneficial for you, or at least safe to take, it does appear. Only got a few more to go, so please stay with me for the end here. Yeah, I just wanted to point out, this was a news report, a new gene therapy, actually using mRNA, so technology, so the same technology which was used in COVID vaccination. I think, no, hold on. No, that's Mike. I should shut up. I felt that. But basically, this was a gene therapy that is used to potentially permanently lower people's cholesterol. So instead of having to take various medications like statins or the newer, what's it called? Newer PCSK9 inhibitor. Here they just basically need to have a single treatment, which could be have a lifelong effect. Anyway, this was just saying that the first person actually was being treated for this. So the study has started in New Zealand these days. So I was just mentioning that as potential gene therapy that might be useful for the masses. So far, gene therapy has only been approved for sort of orphan diseases, diseases that do not have that many patients or that many sufferers, I guess. So just wanted to point out that yeah, gene therapy is moving forward, and it will become a major factor in the next decade or so. Advancing onwards, yeah, you may or may not have heard about the 9 hallmarks of aging. Anyway, yeah, they were first proposed in a paper that came out in 2013, which is now actually the most cited paper in the longevity field. And yeah, well, it was done 9 years ago, and science moves forward. Anyway, this paper here in the opinions, editorials, or theory section is proposing, based on a meeting that took place earlier this year, this Copenhagen Aging Meeting Summary. Big large group of people were suggesting to add additional new hallmarks of aging, which may provide a more comprehensive explanation of aging and aging-related diseases. So, yeah, just pointing out that theories also advance. Sort of interesting to see what the new hallmarks are. So actually, I'll tell you what the new hallmarks are. So they are, first one, a compromised autophagy, so a compromised recycling, microbiome disturbance, altered mechanical properties, so things like extracellular matrix and collagen and all that, splicing dysregulation, and inflammation, which I've been talking about a lot today. So those have sort of been added to the original 9 hallmarks. And if I can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that brings it up to 14 hallmarks. Hopefully my math was correct there. Continuing, how much we do? Oh yeah, only, oh yeah, almost at the end. Almost at the end. Another sort of in regenerative medicine, just simply that they have researchers have bioengineered a cornea, and the Science Daily say they bioengineered a cornea, and the implant restored vision in 20 people with diseased corneas, most of whom were blind prior to receiving the implant. So, yeah, impressive stuff. And, nobody wants to go blind, regardless of the reasons. But people with the diseased corneas, then, yeah, very, very promising research. So, moving swiftly on. So, and as ever, there's always every month there appears to be new senolytic studies. And if you've read any of my previous newsletters or listened to me speak before, I was talking about combination of different molecules, substances is going to be the way we end up curing aging. And the same goes with senolytics. And in the paper, I just want to highlight researchers found that, okay, take a very brief step back. So senolytics affect various different pathways in the cells, and there are different pathways which, can be affected, but and hitting different pathways at the same time with different drugs, which have shown beneficial effects, like the most studied senolytic or senolytic combo, which is the combination of dasatinib and quercetin, involve two different pathways. However, here the researchers tried different senolytic drugs which just affected the same pathway, the BCL2 whatever pathway. And they found that that using a combination, so here, overall, we found that combining BCL2 inhibitors can be beneficial for eliminating senescent cells, thereby enabling use of lower, potentially less toxic doses of drugs compared to monotherapy, thereby overcoming the resistance of the subpopulation of senescent cells to monotherapy. So, yeah, interesting how the combination of drugs, again, affecting the same pathway, provides even better results. And okay, almost at the end here, just a few things in the odds and sods section at the very end. If you suffer from tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears or phantom noises in the ears, which is something my mother has and something I sometimes get a little bit of, and I'm sort of being aware of and worried about ever since I was a child. And here they are claiming that there's a breakthrough in tinnitus research. So it's a prototype of a digital polytherapeutic. Yeah, basically it showed 65% of participants reported an improvement. For some people, it was life-changing, where tinnitus was taking over their lives and attention. So yeah, it also was quicker to have an effect than the I think the only sort of treatment so far involves sort of using sound to try to trick your brain into not hearing the sounds that the ears are hearing. Anyway, something I haven't actually told my mom yet. I need to inform her about this. I'm actually visiting my mom in the UK next week, so I shall be sure to tell her about this and see, maybe get her hold of this if it is actually available. And just the final two ones. Firstly, here is an N1 trial similar to mine. So a single researcher did a study on themselves used with hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So that what that is you sit in a chamber which has higher air pressure, and you sort of breathe in higher concentrations of oxygen, and it appears to be quite quite beneficial. When I first started reading papers on this or hearing about this 2 or 3 years ago, it sounded like quackery. It sounded like, yeah, right, that's you're not going to fool me with this. But in the last 2 years, more and more papers have come out. So there might be something in this. And anyway, this one guy, I guess Joseph C. Maroon, not moron, Maroon, he tested it on himself. And, he had neurocognitive results, showed a 3 to 4% improvement in global cognitive function, as well as all other cognitive function domains. It showed improvement in him. Let's go to the conclusion. The difference between 0 and 1 in this single case study of hyperbaric oxygen therapy confirmed improvement in objective biomarkers which measured cognition, memory, brain processing speed, athletic performance, and neuroimaging modalities measuring cerebral perfusion, so how the blood gets through the brain properly, blood flow, and tractography. I have no idea actually what tractography is. Anyway, additional studies with larger sample sizes are needed. Yes, this was a study of a single person, but still, more of these that come out. The more I'm sort of thinking there might be something. And again, this is something you could basically do now already. It is available. It is a treatment for various conditions, similar to apheresis, the blood dilution. And finally, another one. I've not even read this paper. It's more just looked at the abstract. But here's another one of these things. There are improvements in working memory and long-term memory in older adults with repetitive neuromodulation, which is here. So it's a what is that, you're asking? Well, it's a transcranial, so through the skull, alternating current stimulation. So yeah, basically zapping your brain with electricity. And looking at the conclusion, the rate of memory improvements over 4 days predicted the size of memory benefits 1 month later. Hold on, let's go a bit further back. So low frequency but not high frequency activity in parietal cortex, whatever part of the brain, improved working memory on day 3 and day 4 in the 4 days they did this, and 1 month after intervention. Whereas high frequency but not low frequency activity in the brain improved long-term memory on days 2 to 4 and 1 month after intervention. The rate of memory improvement over 4 days predicted the size of memory benefits 1 month later. Individuals who had worse brain function experienced larger, more enduring memory improvements. So, our findings, let's read the last sentence. Our findings demonstrate that the plasticity of the aging brain can be selectively and sustainably exploited using repetitive and highly focalized neuromodulation grounded on parameters of memory-specific cortical circuitry. Again, sort of, if you'd asked me a few years ago whether or not zapping your brain with electricity or what have you would have a benefit, I would not have believed you. But there we go. It appears to be a benefit. Anyway, oh my goodness, I've been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes. I thought this might take 40 minutes. But going back to what I said at the beginning, August was a blockbuster month, and hope you agree. Well, you don't have to agree with me, but maybe you agree with me. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, whether or not this was an impressive month. Yes, well, I will end it here because I'm getting rather hungry now. So until next month, and I'll just sort of mention next month could be delayed as well because I am traveling at the beginning of the month when I normally put these newsletters together. But I will, once I return from UK and Europe, I will put together another one of these talk throughs. So please join me then. And in the meantime, hope you stay well, stay healthy, and take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.